Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. This is Christopher Aaron. It is May 9th, 2018. We're going to look at an important topic in this video. This is what I expect is setting up for next year. We're talking about a collapse potentially in the US dollar. What is this going to mean, especially for precious metals? And what is it not going to mean? There is a lot of misinformation out there. There are a lot of stories being sold to you. And the point of this channel is to look at everything in the most clear way that is possible, and that is on the actual charts. So let us look at this. We're looking at the price of spot gold as we start, and I'll just say this: the consolidation continues between this 1302, 1303 region for support and resistance coming in at 1369. And the longer that this continues, by the way, this is now the tightest in percentage terms consolidation that we've seen in the last 3 years, and this is also the longest consolidation that we've seen. So the longer that this continues, the more important this is going to be as per the resolution of the consolidation. The more energy is being built up as traders buy and sell and buy and sell, and they condense until boom, there is a spark that sets the market off in a certain direction. So the longer this continues, the more important that spark will be. Who knows what it is going to be fundamentally, but we can say what we're seeing on the charts in no uncertain terms. Longest consolidation in 3 years. And we look at silver, an important move trying to set up here in silver. We can see this unfolding. It is trying to set up. Silver is trying to take leadership once again from gold. It has not yet been able to do it, but we are noticing the attempts to happen, especially on the gold to silver ratio. We will be looking at that intensely over the next several weeks. The main topic, US dollar. Let us look at what is happening. Now, once again, the point of this channel is to show you what is happening on the charts. There are plenty of other channels out there that are speaking about fundamentals. Why is this happening? But they are not actually showing you what is happening. And that is the point of this right here. So we are looking at the US dollar index. This is the US dollar versus a basket of foreign currencies, 2014 through the present. What do all these different colors mean here? If you're new to this system, there is a color key that we bring up. All of these colors have a meaning. So if this is new to you, I encourage you to pause the video, really take a good look at this. There is a logic behind the madness here of this system, and it will be clear to you in time. The important point to consider here is that we had this 3-year consolidation happening in the dollar between the 92, 93 level, this critical support level, and this resistance zone. This was broken just in the beginning of 2018 after the decline that started in 2017 from a false break of the consolidation. So a false break higher leading to a significant decline lower. And what are we noticing now? The trend that defined the entire decline from the 2017 top, from the peak. This is a 15-year peak, by the way, for the dollar. The trend line that defined this very well, look at the hits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits. The 6th attempt finally broken, and now we can see the surge here in the US dollar. So, multi-trillion dollar market that we're talking about, the US dollar index. The currency markets are far greater in total volume of dollars traded than even the precious metals. And when we see a very clear defined linear trend like this broken, boom, there's your warning signal, and we're seeing the rise in the dollar now. Now, what do I expect for the dollar? Why do I think that the dollar is still setting up for a further move lower later this year, and especially to accelerate into 2019? Why do I believe that this is going to happen? It has to do with this signature, this false break, and the technical levels that we are seeing here on the dollar index that lead me to believe that the dollar is going to round out in this region here. We have 3 resistance levels that are going to be tested within the next several months alone. First, we have the broken support level here at 93. So all these buyers of the dollar, people who are buying dollars here and here and here and here and here and here, and here and here and here. All these buyers of the dollar for the last 3 years, they're now underwater. And what happens when a market comes back up to that level where all these buyers are underwater? They try to sell. They try to sell to say, get me out of here. I want to exit the US dollar at least at break even. So we have this broken support, which should now act as resistance right here at the 93 level. There is another important resistance level here. We're talking the 38.2% Fibonacci retracement level at 94.14. You can see silver corresponding to Fibonacci retracements. We're talking about a retracement of the entire decline from the peak. So these are numbers that appear in nature over and over and over again, in seashells, in hurricanes, in flower patterns. If you look at flowers in your garden, you will see the Fibonacci sequence showing up over and over and over again. This level coming in at 94, very important support level, resistance level. Finally, the swing peak that we can see right here from November, 95. So in sum, we have 3 important support that are now resistance levels in this region between 93 and 95. My expectation is that this market is going to see sellers showing up in this region who want to exit the dollar because they're afraid of what this strong move down could signify for next year. Let's zoom it out one level. We were just looking at this, by the way. Move that out of the way. This is my expectation for the dollar. Now you can see, why did this dollar bounce happen here? It's because we have a very clear, linear, rising channel. By the way, this was the all-time low in the dollar, 2008. All-time low in the freely traded era since the collapse of Bretton Woods in 1971. So all-time low, something of a 8-year, 9-year counter-trend rally, and we're seeing evidence that this is going to try to be moving lower over the next year. This is when I believe the mainstream media will really start to pick up on this theme. What is letting us know now? It's the false breakout at the multi-decade high. I don't know of too many other analysts who have recognized this signature. We're talking about a signature. We're talking about a market that you can clearly observe on the chart moved higher in a series of waves for over 8 years, and then consolidated and made an exhaustion gasp to try to break higher, failed, boom, reversal, slicing through all the previous support here. I don't know of too many people who know or who focus on this signature the way that I do. And the best I can say is you will have to come back 12 to 18 months from now, and we'll reference this video, and you'll have to see whether or not I was right about this. I have learned this in my own studies. This is not something that you can read about in technical analysis books, at least not that I've seen, and I've read quite a few. But this is a signature that is critically important when you have a false breakout, setting up a major trend reversal that I think will be coming here over the next year to 18 months. This should be something like a collapse that sets up later this year. Now, I'm going to give a little piece of data here from a period in history. Why am I going to do this? Because we are expecting the dollar to significantly weaken over the next year and 18 months after this counter-trend rally peters out. But I want to look at this period from history because there are a lot of individuals who are trying to sell you this story of a dollar collapse, and they're making a conclusion that because the dollar may be losing significant value, therefore, fill in the blank. Therefore, you should buy gold and silver. Therefore, you should buy ammo and guns. Therefore, you should buy seeds and self-preservation kits and bunkers and prepare for nuclear holocaust. These things may or may not come true, but what I'm saying is that these are stories that are being presented to you. Here in this channel, we like to tune out the stories and look at actual data. And what I want to show you is a period from history in which the dollar had a significant decline. Look at this decline here. from 1984 through 1991. Collapse in the dollar. The strongest collapse that has ever been seen in the history of the dollar in the modern era. And let us look at what happened to the precious metals, especially after this time, because it's not what you might think. So here we see the rise in the dollar, and we see from the peak in 1980, this is the peak, gold $850 an ounce and silver $50. We can see as the dollar was rising, gold falling, silver falling. This makes sense. What may not make so much sense is what happened when the dollar started to fall after 1984. Look at this collapse in the dollar. Almost a 50% loss in the value of the purchasing power in the dollar. Let's move this grayed area away. Look at what happened to gold. Barely able to rise. And silver, for that matter, kept falling for the next 6 years, even as the dollar collapsed. And look, even from 1980, we see here the dollar had moved lower as the net sum from 1980 through 1991. 11 years where the dollar was lower as a net sum. Gold was lower too. Silver was lower too. What was not lower? The U.S. stock market. Now, I am not recommending that you invest in the U.S. stock market. That is not the point of this video. The point of this video is for precious metals investors so you can have a more clear look at what historical data shows what can happen amidst a major decline in the US dollar. Is that although it may seem irrational, the markets can stay irrational for longer than anyone can possibly fathom. That's the takeaway. So we can see here what happened as the dollar was collapsing. The Feds and the central banks convinced people to invest in stocks to protect themselves as opposed to precious metals. And do not assume that this cannot happen again for many, many years. And why am I making this video right now is because we look at the charts of gold and silver every week in the premium service. We look at the charts here periodically on this free channel. But I see so many of these types of articles and videos around YouTube, around various precious metals sites around the world. The inevitable collapse of the US dollar. Prepare yourself. 300,000 views. It's official. Countries talked about dumping the dollar and now they are doing it. 56,000 views. On and on and on. Dollar collapse. And this is just, US dollar is doomed. This is just what I found in 5 minutes of searching, the beginning of the search. And the takeaway that all these articles are trying to sell you, the story that they are trying to sell you is the dollar is going to collapse, therefore buy precious metals. And what I am here to tell you is that this is not always the case. This may be the case. Precious metals may rise. But the point is we have to pay attention to what the markets are actually telling us. To be careful that this is not one of those times when the dollar may collapse, as happened in 1984 through 1991, but perhaps that money goes somewhere else. So, for precious metals investors who want to stay focused on what's actually happening in the market itself every single week, there is a premium service that I do release. We release information like this every week as well as updated charts on gold and silver themselves and the gold and silver miners, as well as every mining company that we are invested in here. This is an exciting time, but we have to focus on the markets themselves, and please be very, very careful of those salesmen who are trying to sell you fear tactics to move you in one direction or another. That is not my business model here. I simply present clear information in the best way that we are capable here. I do work with individuals as well. If you're heavily invested or considering doing so in the precious metals, if you would like to speak to someone who does not sell the metals, I simply look out for the best interest of my subscribers. We formulate plans of action together based on your best interests. Know that you can reach me on the website. There's more information. Once again, dollar chart looks horrible. It truly does. It looks like a major top is being formed in the dollar. There should be a counter-trend rally that is setting up over the next 2 to 3 months. I'm expecting that the dollar will top out in the 95 region on the dollar index. And then we'll see the dollar start to turn lower. This could be very, very good for precious metals, but we have to pay attention to what the markets are actually showing us to be sure that this is not one of those occasions that gold, silver, and the dollar all move lower together for another 6 or 7 years. Thank you, and I will see you this time next week.